Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk Title with Emerald Coast Title Services. I'm host and president of ECTS, Dion Moniz.
And I'm Ashley Bowen, Director of Operations for Emerald Coast Title Services and a licensed title agent.
And licensed instructor.
And an instructor for Florida Realtors, that's
yes,
right.
Always got to include that part. All right, so today we're going to go over the new FinCEN real estate reporting requirements. Fun stuff.
Now this is going to be more of what we have to do. The reporting requirement is left to the preparer of the deed, so that's not something that you as realtors are going to have to do, but we want you to be aware of it because we're going to be asking your clients for all this personal information, and they're probably going to call you and say, why is she asking me for all this information? And I want you to know what I'm asking for so that you can talk them off the ledge, please.
Yeah, and so this new law goes into effect March 1, which when this podcast airs, it should be right after that. So let's say it's already in effect as of the date of this podcast.
Yes, and your contract already has a disclosure in the standards if you're using the FireBar, which is what we recommend.
Yes.
So it's going to be standard 18, paragraph 18, and number I3. It's FinCEN GTO reporting obligation. So this is already in your contract. You've already had this signed. If the closing agent is required to comply with the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network geographic targeting order, then buyer shall provide closing agent with essential information and documentation related to the buyer and its beneficial owners, including photo identification and related to the transaction contemplated by this contract, which are required to complete mandatory reporting, including current transaction report. And the buyer consents to closing agent's collection and report of said information to the IRS. So this is documentation that we are getting and reporting directly to the federal government. In efforts to combat money laundering, they are now making us report all cash transactions that are happening when a buyer is purchasing the property in an LLC or in a trust. If someone is buying real property in their personal names, we do not have to report. It's only if it's in an LLC or in a trust.
So real quick for some background, some of you may remember the beneficial owner information report requirements that we had for maybe 6 months until it went away, and then now only applies to foreign entities buying in the U.S. So FinCEN kind of got kicked out of that requirement because that was initially a requirement of all U.S. or foreign entities.
And that's where we had to report who the owners of the LLC are and give it to the IRS.
As soon as they registered on SunBiz.
You did with the law firm.
Yep. As soon as they registered on SunBiz, we had to turn around and file a BOI report. Again, that was done away with other than outside or foreign entities buying or doing business in the state. So now FinCEN has said, okay, we're going to get the information through the real estate transactions. And so it's come around to this. And it's interesting that the contract has always, or for a long time, has had this requirement, but it's primarily been for GTOs, which were more specific targeting orders. Now it's kind of more generic.
To anybody who's paying cash.
Exactly.
And Fidelity is a nationwide, really big underwriter, and they have had a lawsuit going on with the federal government to do away with this requirement. It's been going on for like 6 or 9 months, but they haven't had their first hearing yet. And so I was really hoping that that lawsuit would happen, Fidelity would win, and we wouldn't have to do any of this. But March 1st is here, and so here we are.
Yep.
Hopefully that lawsuit will happen and Fidelity will win, and we won't have to do this for very long. But for now, when you have a cash transaction and your buyers do not want to provide all of this personal financial information to us at closing, it's best if they just buy it in their personal name and then they don't have to do it.
And if you buy it in your personal name first and then transfer it into an LLC,
the preparer of the deed is still going to have to report. And so the only way around it that I have seen is if a buyer goes directly to the courthouse and prepares their own deed and files it themselves. We call that a crayon deed. And normally those deeds we have to fix down the chain and title later on because there was something that wasn't done right. But anyone who prepares a deed has to report.
So what about the argument that it's not a purchase at that point, it's just a transfer? Because this new rule applies to cash purchases by entities. Well, this isn't a purchase, it's just a transfer from individual into entity.
Well, that's why you're a lawyer and you love the gray area.
I
I'm
do.
a title agent and I don't like gray at all. So my only suggestion is for the owner of the property, if they want to transfer it to an LLC and they don't want to report, is to just go do a crayon deed at the clerk of court.
Yep, there you go.
So there are these forms that we have to fill out and report to the IRS within 30 days of a closing. We are going to have our clients fill out their forms through our closing portal. If they don't like to do that, they can call us and take it. The seller's checklist is all information that we already have. It's about 3 pages long. We just need their names, a physical mailing address, no PO box, their social security number, and then the property details, which we already have all of that because we have to prepare a 1099 for each seller at the end of a closing. The buyer's checklist is, it's more. Typically with a cash transaction on a buyer, I'm not going to ask for their social security number because I'm not preparing any IRS documents for them. But now we will need the full legal name of the entity, the street address, their tax ID number, all of the individuals who have substantial control of the company, anyone who owns more than 25% of the business on the date of closing. We'll need all of those people's full legal name, date of birth, residential street address, citizenship, their social security number or foreign tax ID passport number if they're not a U.S. citizen.
Or driver's license, right?
Well, we need to know their citizenship. So
But
a
if they're a
passport.
U.S. citizen, you can use a driver's license.
Yes, we can. If they have a social security number, we can use their driver's license. We also need to know where the funds came from, including the bank that it's coming from, the account number, the name of the account, and if it is a trust, so that's LLCs. If it's a trust, we need the full legal name of the trust, the date that the trust was executed, the tax ID number if it has one, and if it is or is not revocable, then we will need to know all of the trustees, the sole beneficiary, and again, the originating bank information. So the bank, the account number, the account name, and the method of payment, which is likely a wire because that's all we'll accept for closing funds.
Yep.
And then they need miscellaneous information about the property, which again, we already have, the property address, the legal description, the date of closing.
Yeah.
And the buyers, so the seller's, I said, form is 3 pages. The buyer's is 8 pages long, this form that they have to fill out, and then we have to report it to the IRS.
It's interesting. The entity owner information that you just described is identical to what we had to file under the beneficial owner information reports. So again, this is just FinCEN's way of getting the information a different way. And again, they're trying to catch those shell companies that are just doing money laundering. But we have a system, our closing software is going to take care of requesting that information from the buyers. So there will be a portal where the buyer gets the information request and submits it all through our software.
Which is Qualia, and I know that some of you don't love Qualia, and if you don't, then I can fill out the forms, but they're going to have to call me and give me all this information over the phone. The form might be easier, but I know that some of you push back on that. And that's okay. We can work with you.
But if they submit it through the software, it's encrypted, it's secure.
Yes.
Yeah, so the information is safe.
It sure is. So that's what we have to do. If you've got somebody paying for a property using a mortgage, we don't have to do it. The requirement is over because most financial institutions already have fraud prevention things that they do within the loan process itself.
Well, yeah, and banks have their own FinCEN reporting requirements, so they're reporting it on the loan side of things, which is why we don't have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. All right, so again, if you're a buyer's agent, make sure your buyer understands that if they're buying through an entity with cash, we're going to be asking them a whole lot of questions for some personal info they might not want to give out, but they're going to have to if they want to close.
And the majority of our closings that are cash, people like to buy in an LLC.
Yes.
Because then they're going to go and rent it out, and they want to be protected.
Yes.
So I think we'll be seeing a lot of these until
Yes.
hopefully that Fidelity lawsuit gets finalized and they win.
They
Fingers
might.
crossed.
Yeah. Like I said, the litigation worked on the BOI side of things, so maybe it'll work on this side.
But we don't necessarily want a bunch of fraud and money
That's right.
laundering going on in our country. And so, what we have to report, we have to report. And the IRS
Yes.
already has all of your information anyways, right?
Yes, exactly. Uncle Sam has the information, so
He already knows all about you.
yeah. So you're not disclosing anything he doesn't already have. They just want it in a different report bucket. So, all right. Well, hopefully that sheds some light on the new FinCEN real estate reporting requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get any details down the road about it being canceled due to litigation, et cetera, we'll be sure and
We'll
update
definitely have a podcast on that.
you. Yep, absolutely.
Let all of your fellow realtors know, because there are more realtors in the area than we have podcast viewers.
What?
Yeah.
You mean everyone doesn't listen to our podcast?
Not everyone, not yet.
Shame.
So make sure that everybody knows about this, because it is something that's going to happen. And I have a feeling that buyers are going to be asking questions of you all when they get those requests from us.
Now, always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, let us know if there's anything else we can talk about on our podcast. And we hope you will follow us on our social media pages or check us out on our website, ects.com. And in the meantime, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.